She is power. She is love. She is hope. She inspires. She is many journeys in one lifetime. She is the people, an individual, a never-ending story of the beauty of possibility.
I nearly didn't get into medical school, I put it that way. I got rejected from a couple of medical schools.
I was a treasury officer, went through the ranks in treasury.
You find the whole reverend thing geared towards the male.
So I had to learn now how to find my voice. I think the other thing for me would be hard work and continuous self-improvement.
My faith is everything.
Be a part of She Inspires this and every Wednesday on the I Am Drive on Sunny 88.7 FM, 8:30 a.m. and live on Facebook same time. Also join in on Sunny TV every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. She Inspires is proudly brought to you by She Inspires.
It takes a woman with a big heart to turn a tragedy into a project that is transforming the lives of women and babies. This is She Inspires, bringing you inspiring women of our times as we draw inspiration from their lives. They share with us their area of expertise, their faith, how they work it out, family, work-life balance, and also their hobbies, what keeps them going amidst challenges, and so much more. Thank you for joining me on She Inspires. I am JJD. She Inspires is proudly brought to you by Duffy's Health and Beauty, Mianan Foods, Lunch Avenue, Ajele Jewelry, and Hotel Kasarari. My guest on She Inspires today is the country director of Harley Reid Ghana and also co-founder of LittleBigSouls. Joining me, my guest for today, Edith Uyovbukheri. Edith, it's so great to have you at She Inspires. You look amazing.
Thank you. You look gorgeous too.
Thank you very much. You know, there are about 2 or 3 ladies I told, we're going to have Edith on She Inspires. And each of them said the same thing. Oh, she's the sweetest person. Oh. She's the sweetest human being. She's so sweet. I'm like, okay. Do you hear that a lot?
You sure? It's really heartwarming to hear that.
I've heard that so
really
many
heartwarming.
times.
Thank you.
That means they say behind your back more.
Not to my face.
Please tell her to her face more.
But thank you, and thank you to them.
But definitely, it's great to have you on She Inspires, and I trust we're going to have an awesome time with you.
I'm looking forward to it.
But for anyone who follows what you do, they can't miss seeing you with a preterm baby, or you talking about a preterm baby, and all the impact you're making in the lives of preterm babies and moms with preterm babies. Tell us about your organization, LittleBigSouls, and what inspired it.
Okay, so LittleBigSouls is a charity for preterm babies born in Africa. And we see ourselves as the voice for the preterm baby born in Africa. And our aim is basically to give a fighting chance to every child that is born on our continent. And so the idea is that the location of your birth should not determine your chance of survival, and that a baby that's born in any country in Africa should have as much chance of life as a baby that's born anywhere in the West or in a more developed part of the world. So we run the organization with various programs. One of them is awareness creation, the very first one. And the idea is that you cannot start to make change until you create awareness, until you drive out ignorance. And you drive out ignorance by creating awareness. So we have a vibrant awareness program. We have an equipment donation program where we donate to neonatal intensive care units, which are the units that support babies who are born too soon, at no charge. So incubators.
At no charge?
Yes, incubators, phototherapy units, disposables, it could be anything. And then one of our biggest programs is parental support. And it's big in our part of the world because we provide support to parents of preterm babies from the beginning of their journey and sometimes throughout their growth and their milestones. So it could be things like providing diapers for preterm babies. I don't know if anyone's seen a preterm baby, but they're very tiny, extremely tiny. Our normal diapers can swamp them. So
the first time I saw a preterm baby, I did not know a baby could be that
tiny.
Small.
So you just have to imagine a baby that should have been in the womb but came out too soon. And our job really is just to support or to mimic the support that it gets in the womb so that it grows and thrives. Sadly, we lose a lot of babies who are born preterm. But I was inspired, or the genesis for Little Big Souls was me having a baby born preterm. I had a beautiful daughter born at 31 weeks whilst I was on holiday, Easter holiday in Ghana in 2003.
Where had you come from?
From
to
England.
Ghana?
So
From England.
I lived in England with my family. We'd come for the Easter holidays, and I was probably about 6.5 months pregnant. So I was still safe to fly. We were only going to be here for 3 weeks. I ended up in hospital on the Easter Saturday, and then stayed in hospital for about probably another 6 or 7 weeks.
You stayed there the whole time?
Yes, we wanted to go back, but we were told that, it was risky and all of that. So we decided to stay. I was hospitalized. I was losing fluid, or lico as they called it. So I was stitched. I had to have bed rest, complete bed rest. There's so many stories around that stay in hospital, but basically Teji was born at 31 and 5 days because I had what they call a placenta abruption.
Okay.
So we had to deliver her quickly by CS. But she was born without it needing any intervention. She was born with what they call an APGA score of about 9, which is what normal babies have. It ranges from 10 downwards. She could breathe on her own. So she was in an incubator in one of our major hospitals in Accra, but it wasn't functioning as an incubator. I didn't realize at the time that it was an incubator, but I didn't realize that the incubator had to have all kinds of things going on with it. So let's say she was in a cot.
Okay.
And she was doing really well. She was in there for about 2.5 weeks.
Were you still in the hospital at the time, or
I was discharged after 5 days, 3 to 5 days. But I was in and out every single day because that is the life of a preterm baby's mother.
That was your Teji.
Yes.
In hospital.
So you had to provide breast milk. So you were in literally 2 or 3 times a day. And there's places where the mothers sit, and there's kind of solidarity amongst mothers at this stage, by the way, but that's a different thing. That's something we've harnessed into Little Big Souls. But unfortunately, I was told that she was increasing her feed, and I was excited because one of the markers we use to show how a baby's thriving or growing is eating more. We call it ounce by ounce, that way, where they're eating more and more. So I was excited. I was thankful to God. I knew that this miracle was going to be fine. And so we'd increased the feed. I'd pumped more. And I went to see her. I'd seen her in the morning, and I went to see her in the late afternoon, and she wasn't there. Her cot wasn't there, or the incubator wasn't there.
You had seen her in the morning, by the afternoon when you went back to the hospital,
yes, she wasn't there. But because I knew she had increased the feed and she looked good that morning, my assumption, and I don't know where it came from, was that she had been moved so that she was no longer that critical and that she had been moved. So for me, I didn't really panic when I looked and she wasn't in there. But in the moment where it took me to kind of assimilate it, a nurse came to me and she was upset, crying and telling me she was sorry. And then it didn't make sense. And then the older nurse came in and said, sit down. So I sat down, and then they said the baby had passed. So I know it's 17 years, whatever now, and I still remember it. But it's funny how you remember the detail of some things, and then your brain kind of just dampens down on the pain of that situation. But basically, she had passed, and they had moved her into a corner. So she was still there, actually. So I saw her, and she'd asphyxiated. So they were feeding her, 2 nurses to this NICU. One was feeding her, and they fed her through like a syringe kind of thing with a spoon. And while she was feeding her, another baby had a crisis. So the other nurse was calling her to come and help. And she put Teji down to go and help. And in the process came back and she had choked, asphyxiated on her food. It's one of the things you think about and you think, well, I guess it was an accident, but it shouldn't have happened at all. Because we know that even with full-term babies, we win them when they're eating, because they can't, one of the things about preterm babies actually, when they can't suck and stuff, is that, there's a mechanism in our brains that allows us to eat and breathe at the same time. And that mechanism allows us not to choke when we're eating. But this is what happened. So she had asphyxiated, she had choked on her food, and we had lost her. So in fact, when I saw her, the food was still, coming out of her mouth. It was just, but I think at the time, the reaction of the nurses and doctors around the death of a baby was, I think, what was more disturbing for me.
What was their reaction?
Which was, it was as if it was something that could happen every single day. Edith, you are young. You have 2 beautiful children. You can have some more kids. You need to move on. Don't worry, this is life. You move on.
That was on the afternoon you had been told your child had passed.
No, that was from the afternoon onwards. Onwards. In fact, that day, my husband hadn't come with me into the ward. He was outside with my firstborn. And the reason he was outside was there had been so many comments about the fact that he was coming in too often. Because there's women there and the women are breastfeeding and stuff, and you're always wanting to come and see your baby. So that day, he had stood outside waiting for me. I was telling you about how women sit outside of the unit, and we all, feed our babies. And okay, I'd seen women come out without their babies in that 2.5 weeks. I hadn't processed that it would be me.
It would be you.
But literally, as I walked out with the nurse behind me and Teji's case, it just hit me that it's like a train. It's it's something that happened and was happening. And so I wasn't, at the time you think it's just you. You think your world has just fallen apart. You're devastated. You think it's just you, but it isn't. There's so many other people that it affects. So I went outside. So he was there and he saw me coming. All this time they said this thing to me. I hadn't cried. I hadn't said anything. In fact, I didn't say a word. I don't know what was. And even now, as I talk about it, I get goosebumps.
I said nothing before leaving.
So that was my other regret, because the unit where she was born didn't allow us to be touching her. It's one of the things we really promote in terms of developmental care in the NICU with our units around, skin to skin, and parents being able to touch, talk, be with their babies. I understand the logistics of it at the time, where maybe you don't want too many mothers, but at the end of the day, nurses can only help you up to a certain point. You will take your baby home, and you will have to be the one to care for it. But as I came out and I saw my husband and my daughter, and I could hear someone screaming, it was me, but I didn't know it was me. And then at the same time, I could hear the gurney in the corridor, because they were obviously going to take her to the mortuary. So anyway, it was a hard time for us as a family, because for us, every child is valid, every child is wanted. You cannot dismiss a birth and a death in the way in which we felt that we had. It was a tough one, but through that, when we got back to the UK, I wanted to do something for the NICU. And my first thought was, let's pay for more nurses. And then let's give them, some more resources. And my sister at the time, said, okay, and then what? I said, then we do it for other NICUs. And she was like, and then what? How do we need to make it? So we started researching, realized there was no organization across the whole of Africa for preterm babies. We knew about the ones in the UK and the ones in the US, but we didn't know about anyone. And that was how LittleBigSouls was birthed.
So I guess you would agree that, it's said that sometimes it's in tragedy that we find life's purpose.
Yes.
Would you say that was it for you?
At the time, I think it was cathartic. I wanted to make sure that it was almost rebellious. I wanted everyone to understand that she mattered. She came, she mattered, she left a legacy, and she was important to us. And it was one of those things that drove you. But over the years, I started to see it as a blessing. And you know how we called it LittleBigSouls, because everyone is a big soul. We're all huge souls. But the container, or the body that contains us, can be all sizes, all races, or whatever it is, but we're big souls. So they're LittleBigSouls. But the idea that she would choose me to be her mom, or God would gift me with that, and that I was able to create a legacy for her and then also impact and help others. Now, as I sit now and as I passed 50 and I was reflecting on my life and a lot of things, it made sense. You know, when something happens to you, you kind of know that it was meant to happen for a reason. And it is this reason, because when I was in school, I was head girl and we raised money for premature babies in England.
Wow.
Where was that coming from?
So else you would have done that at that time.
Yes.
So how do you feel when you see the impact that has been made through Little Big Souls since it started off?
So what the mothers do, which warms my heart, is they involve you in the lives of the babies that you met as preemies. Those who struggle, those who actually thrived and grew without any major interventions, those that you had to literally not just put resources in, but pray them through life. All those ones. When you see them now at age 10, 8, first day at school, things like that, and they send you the photos because they remember you, and they send you the photos, and they stay within the community. You start to think, oh my gosh, you know, you're part of bigger than just you wake up every morning or you go to the hospital and you say. So at any point now when we go to the hospital and I see a mom and I connect with that mom on that first instance, I don't take it lightly anymore. I feel like whilst I might remember it again in a few months or as I speak to her, but she might remember it for life, and I may have made a difference.
I know you've been amazing to many moms and many moms' babies, preterm babies. I want to know if there's one story or one experience you've had that has stuck to you that you can always hesitate but share, and it keeps you going when it gets tough, sustaining what you do through Little Big Souls.
There's one baby in particular that he was born to a Muslim family, but because they abandoned him, we named him Della. Okay. I mean, it's stuck, and he's growing, and he's actually with one of the families that we're placed with, but we're in his life. But things like that, those ones matter, because I'm thinking 21 years from now, and I'm thinking maybe a wedding or a graduation or things like that. I would love to get there. Little Big Souls we launched in Ghana in 2010. So we're 10, this is our 10th into our 11th year in Ghana. So, we still got a way to go for babies in Ghana. But I'd love to see this 10 years on and see the babies that we currently work with or we had worked with who are there. So, yes.
This is She Inspires with Edith Uyovbukheri. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Me broni. Na de na wanu me drama na che wa no pe wa nom okọ. Me so ya no pe bia. Ansana me ko me nyuma so no. Menya de pe bi. Let me share it with you. That feeds Ohima feminine mixture. I am a secret bakopa aboa me. Boso me bia, me menses e bakama. Abra menti ya obia. E flow mami. Me wo ye chi no. Na me menses no e ma ye. Me sha ase no that feeds Ohima feminine mixture no. E bankasa with no pain. So that feeds Ohima feminine mixture. The best yes you.
Open the did with Duffy's Health and Beauty Ewo East Legon American House Kumasen so ye Bank Tech Hospital enye map him for Sankra to a FDA ashushe mwagia to muse eye
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and the children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. The snow said I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days, may your days, may your days be merry and bright.
Welcome back to She Inspires. We're with a co-founder of LittleBigSouls, Edith Uyovbukheri, who is also the country director of Holly Reid Ghana. Edith, I know that you have a heart for young women and you love to mentor young women, and you have a number of organizations you're doing that through. Can you share that passion with us and why it's so important to you?
So actually what started was, I used to work with multinationals. In fact, I came to Ghana with Diageo to work with Guinness Ghana breweries. And after my term with Guinness Ghana and starting in a CEO position outside of multinationals, I thought, listen, I really still need to remain relevant globally. I still wanted to be developed. I had CPD to do, the continuing professional development in terms of my career. But I also wanted to connect with women like me who also wanted to be relevant and find that happy balance in life. So I formed an organization called Strands of Pearls. And the idea was that, we're all gems and you put us onto strands, and the more strands you weave, the stronger we are. So we started Strands of Pearls, and really what happened was we would get the same kind of coaching and training that we were getting in multinationals, but get them at a lower cost here. I just connected with some of the trainers we had used over the years in the UK and the US. But that was at our level. But I've always wanted to work or to inspire the next generation of African leaders or African young women. And I'd done that with an organization called the African Women in Leadership Organization. And so one of the things we wanted to do as a give back within Strands of Pearls was mentor young women to become better than we were. And so that there's this analogy that, when you walk through a path that hasn't been trodden on, there's a lot of work to be done. Then you start cutting down the grass. And then the next lot that come behind you, dumping it down with their footprints and their footsteps. And then by the time it gets to generations yet unborn, it's actually a road. And it's clear, and there's nothing for them, and they can see further. So that was the whole idea. So we called it a Path of Hope. And so through Path of Hope, we have young women. We started with millennials back then, 5 years or 6 years ago, mentoring millennials. We would create workshops. So we have quarterly workshops. And it could be anything from better communication skills, how to create your vision board, how to live your dreams, how to live your passions, how to navigate your way through, some of these challenges that we face, particularly as women in the workforce, to manage change and uncertainty, things like that. But apart from that, they were also given access to big brothers and sisters who are friends, colleagues, whatever of mine, industry leaders that we bring into the sessions. And then they're able to just, almost like connect with them on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whatever. Just to make their path a little less arduous, a little less difficult. And it's been amazing. In the last 6 years, we have young women who are doing crazy things. I'm so proud of them. And mentoring is my passion. And maybe, mentoring is, we have a whole view of, everybody has a different view of what a mentor should be, or a mentee should be. Mine's probably a hybrid way of doing it. Because I feel like if you're in someone's life, you're in someone's life fully. And you should be, your life therefore should be open up for them to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and then hopefully tread the path of more good and bad and ugly. So my mentoring style is a bit different. It's not as structured as maybe some others are. But I think it works.
Maybe it's why they say you're sweet, because
it works. So far, so good.
So great.
Yeah.
You're country director of Holly Reid Ghana. What kind of responsibility does that come with?
Oh my gosh. So Holly Reid is
You do a lot, Edith.
I keep myself out busy so that I don't do anything else. So Holly Reid is a Pan-African organization. We're headquartered in the UK. It's a knowledge assurance and advisory firm. So we work with, for knowledge, we're SIPS partners across the region, ACCA, CIMA, anything you can think of in terms of certification, we're working on, and we're training, we're providing training for, and then short courses. Then we do advisory on procurement, on accounting, anything, business advisory. And then we have an assurance firm where we run an accounting.
So what's a day in your life like? I mean,
it depends on what day it is.
Let's take a Monday. What's a Monday in your life like?
Okay, so a Monday at the moment is a full beginning of the weekday.
Monday? Anyway.
Yeah, the Monday is probably the easiest day to do for me because
I think we'll go to Friday then and see how that goes.
Yeah, Friday. But the Monday is basically wake up very early. I wake up very early anyway. I'm up by 5:30 every day. I listen to a lot of gospel music, get myself to my daily meditation, get ready for work. I've got to the age now where I don't do that crazy rush out to work, and I kind of pace myself because I figured whether I rush or not, I still get in at the same time. So it's really deliberate now, and I think it's just making changes in my life that work. And then I head off to work. It's a bit of a drive because of traffic and Accra. Mondays is a busy day. It's the start of the week. So I spend probably about an hour just sort of planning my day at my desk. And then we have our ops meetings on Mondays. And that usually takes about an hour and a half. And then after that, it's working all the way to around about 4.
Okay.
Get home. Sometimes we have LittleBigSouls meetings or catch-ups, and now, especially now, we're getting ready for our November events. Because November is Prematurity Awareness Month, so it's a packed month.
Okay.
So we're planning events and stuff, so we have that going on. Then I connect with my family. My family doesn't live here.
They're not here in Ghana?
No, they're in the UK. So there's a morning, by the way, I missed the morning connect with them, and then there's the evening connect with them. And then I just basically catch up on work. And I know it's a bad habit, but you know, there's so many interruptions in the day that I work better in the night. And so I'm a night owl, and then I probably fall asleep after midnight.
After midnight.
And then I wake up again.
So you mentioned your family not being Ghana. How many children do you have?
I have 3. I have a 21-year-old, Essay. My son's going to be 20 next month.
Okay.
And then my baby is 16, Kesiena.
What are you most proud about when you see your children? A mom, a mentor to many. How do you feel?
You know, I actually said that this time. You know, unfortunately for me, I've had a couple of... I lost my mother 20 months ago, and then my father 4 months ago. So I've gone back to almost like being a child again and going through these kinds of losses. And I was just telling my husband before I left, actually came back, that you know, I couldn't have gone through this sane without the kids, without knowing just how I'm so proud of them. It doesn't mean that they're perfect children, but they're all different in their ways. But they've held it down for their mother. Like they've been there, they've been concerned. And you know, as a mom, you don't always want to put your problems on your children. You actually don't want to do that at all. But they've been... My husband and my children have been rocks for me, and I'm really proud of the young people that they're growing up to be.
You're their mom.
You paved
a great way.
And I pray them every day, that kind of future.
So I know there are many young women who look up to you, many people look up to you. I want to know, who did you grow up looking up to, or who do you look up to also? Is there anybody like that in your life?
Well, I was lucky, I think. I grew up in a family where my mom was I wanted to be like my mom. It sounds cliche, but I always wanted to be like my mom. And I'll tell you why. Not because my mom was the head of WAG Ghana for 20 or a lot of years, but I wanted to be like her because she managed to be a mom, a wife, head of an organization, and still fun and relevant and made great experiences for us, and I think lived on her own terms. Do you see what I mean? I don't know. I don't have her personality. My mom's gregarious or was gregarious and whatever, and I always wanted to be like that, but I realized that mine is a bit different. My mom loved people, and her biggest investments were in relationships, in just being important in people's lives or being relevant in people's lives. Our house always had food, was always open, and her heart was big. So I had that. I had that as, in terms of if I'm thinking career and everything else, I had my aunties. I have so many people. I didn't have to look too far for role models. And it's been like that. But there's people who I admire very much and who I connect with every now and then. Auntie Joyce was one of them. In the past, I used to just drop in and see her. There's so many other people that I do. And men as well. My role models or my people I look up to aren't limited to men, because we live in a world that is both of us, and to be honest,
we've got to win together.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. It's really about winning together and surviving. But understanding that I'm a woman, I love being a woman. I don't want to be anything else. But how do I make the best me every single day?
The authentic, true self. You lost Teji. It's been over 17 years.
It's going to be 18 years this year.
18 years. You talked about losing your mom 20 months ago, your dad 4 months ago, and I'm wondering if your faith has helped you during this period, because it can be tough losing a loved one. Yes,
I think more so now that than it before. I think more so now because, one day maybe we can have a show on testimonies and God's faithfulness and actual practical things that have happened in my life. But I am so convinced. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm loved by God more than anybody else. And it's not a brag. It's just that thing where there's that constant reassurance in my life that you're not alone. And it was actually when Dad passed, that it hit me. When people say, "Oh, you're an orphan," and that is a word that is heavy. Whether you take it as Orphan Annie or whatever it is, it's a heavy word, because it's a realization for you that your phone won't ring again with your mom or your dad. You won't be able to run to these two people, and whatever anyone's parents are in their lives, they're still pillars for them. Mine were very relevant for me. But it's the understanding or the reassurance or the knowledge that I was never alone.
Never alone.
And I always had my father, and I always will have my father. And in fact, I think my faith has been strengthened and grown in the last 20 odd months than it has been in my entire life.
Wow. How does that feel?
Amazing. Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing in ways I cannot even say, because maybe this isn't the platform, but amazing.
Maybe we could hear some of the testimonies, maybe one, if you'd want to.
For many people, when they talk about, waking up every day, and it's like routine. You wake up, you do whatever you need to do, or you move on. There was a time where I couldn't. I was literally stuck, and it's two things. I had pain, physical pain that I felt, but I also Mom had passed, by the way, and I was going through, COVID had come. I was going through, that whole thing of what is all of this about? I was away from my family, my children, and my husband. I couldn't sit on a plane if I wanted to, because we had all the COVID rules, and then I had a father that I was looking after. And I woke up one day, I don't even know, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever in the morning, for the first time. And I actually told one of my best friends that, all my life, when people say, "Oh, I'm feeling low, I'm feeling depressed, I've never understood that. I'm like, how?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, what do you mean you're feeling low? What do you mean you're feeling depressed or whatever? But I experienced that last year in COVID, but I didn't realize it was happening over a few days. But at the moment where I woke up and had that realization, I panicked. I literally panicked, because I realized that, listen, something is happening to you that you wouldn't be able to explain to anyone, but something's wrong. Your grief is too much.
Okay.
Your immobility is too much, and you're acting as if you don't have any light, whereas there's so much light. So your brain is telling you there's so much light around you, but you're not whatever. And for the first time in a long time, and when people say they hear God speak to them, and I hear men of God say they hear God speak to them, and think God speaks.
My room and all. Yeah.
God does speak to you, because I heard how much I was loved. I heard how much I was his own, and I heard get up and go.
Get up. Wow.
And I did. And it's tangible. So I'm saying on TV, oh Lord, have mercy, or radio, but it's something that it's hard to describe or explain. But I know without a shadow of a doubt that God's always going to be there for me.
Let's talk about your hobbies. What do you love to do when you're not busy at
Oh my gosh.
read or...
So I used to love to cook.
You used to?
Used to.
Oh,
I used to
what
love
happened?
to cook. Now I think my excuse is my kitchen needs reworking. But I love reading.
Okay.
I read a lot. And then I love listening to music. But I also love watching films. So I'm doing more of the sedentary hobbies right now. But I see people do exciting things like, trekking and all of those things. And I feel like I want to do that.
But you're yet to actually do them.
I've climbed the Fajato a couple of times.
Wow.
We did climb for preemies, yes. Oh. I didn't get to the very, 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 very top.
But you started.
But it was about the idea that, not all babies will leave NICU, but we all climbed and I didn't.
That's wonderful. Edith, can you share with us your top 3 lessons for anyone listening to us, watching you on She Inspires? You've seen a lot, been through a lot, had some amazing experiences in life. I'm sure you've learned so many lessons along the way, which you're happy to pass on to others. What would be your top 3?
I guess the first one is that what you're afraid. So the thing you're afraid of, or the thing you're fearful of, is never as bad as you think it. It's never as bad as you imagine. No. So the things that you're afraid of, the things that are scaring you, are never in reality that bad. I mean, there's also another one where the certainty that the day will end and a new one will begin. Your prayer is only that you're in it for the next one, but that's the cycle of life goes on. So the things we hold on to and we grab and whatever on that, they're just nothing. And the last one is that life is really around happiness and relationships at the end of the day. And I'm not saying people should not aspire to financial, amass financial gain or property or anything like that. I think that's something that I encourage everybody to do, but not above all else.
Okay.
Relationships are very important, and finding a happy balance in life is also very important. But the biggest one is that you should dream big and dream in color. I always say it, dream in color. Those are my. So it's 4, right?
I think we've done about 4.
It's 4.
I like
but it's still, but 2 go together. The thing about fear, and then also the fact that you look back and you think, oh my gosh, I actually did that. I mean, it's what you're afraid of. You actually gone through it already, and you
probably didn't even realize you've been through it.
Yes.
So we've had the co-founder of LittleBigSouls, Edith Uyovbukheri, as our guest on She Inspires. She's also the country director of Harley Reid Ghana. Edith, thank you very much for coming on She Inspired. We've been so honored to have you on. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And know more what the Lord is doing in your life.
Plenty. Plenty.
A lot more to catch up on.
Yes.
I'm so sure that you are inspired to step out boldly, dream big, and dream in all the colors that you can think of today. Thanks to our incredible guest on She Inspires today, Edith Uyovbukheri. And thank you to our sponsors who make it possible for us to bring you She Inspires every Wednesday. Hotel Kasarari for this lovely location there at East Legon. Also Duffy's Health and Beauty. If you want 100% natural skincare products, feminine products, speak to Duffy's Health and Beauty. Also Mianan Foods, they are into food processing and packaging. Ajile Jewelry for my accessories, Debbie from Paul for my lovely dress, and Royal Peaches for my makeup. Thank you to all of our incredible sponsors. Thank you for joining me on She Inspires today. It's back on air and on your screen Wednesdays at 8:30 a.m. I'm JJD and this has been She Inspires. Bye-bye.
She Inspires.